Tell me what you've been up to, Carine, because I don't know that people know that you have this incredibly new position with an incredible company.
I know.
And I mean, you're a staple. You're Silicon Slopes legend. You're on our Mount Rushmore. You've won every award in this community. You've done everything. I'm really excited about this new chapter of what you're doing. So I'll let you tell it rather than me.
Well, thank you for inviting me to come spend time with you. You know, I love to just hang out with you, catch up with you, build things with you. Funny thing is that every time I have a new chapter, people have something to say about it, which is so funny to me that people have opinions and they want to know, like, why would you do that? And I was like, why do you care?
Yeah,
So
that's the right question. It's like, why do you care?
yeah, why do you care? Because it's like, dude, I'm a cancer survivor. I do what I want to do. So yes, I accepted a job as the CEO of First Colony Mortgage. The people were like shocked and stunned and surprised, and they're like, I don't get it. But let me tell you why you should get it. Because this is a 40-year-old company that is owned by one guy who's a 42-year-old entrepreneur who's built a great business. And they don't just do residential mortgages, which has been their staple. I call that the OG business. They also JV a lot of land developments, but more exciting, I think, for Utah is that they've built this unbelievable warehousing business that has already eclipsed their OG business.
Hmm.
And they are the fastest growing mortgage banker in the United States here in Utah.
You know what's funny? And when you told me the company, I was like, that's who I got my first mortgage from.
And
Was First Colony.
so people tell me that they're like, oh, they did my mortgage.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, in 2008, they pivoted the business to work very closely with builders. So the top builders in the state, most of them, they
like
have
Arrive and
like destination
Destination
homes, like I mean, you think of the home builders that are building a lot of the new developments. They partner with them. And what I like about what they do is that when you are buying or building a home, when you're building a home, you have about 9 months before you actually move into the home. So they help to rehabilitate the homeowner's credit so they can qualify for a better loan. They can get better rate. And they help them through the whole process. So once you have the loan, they're watching your loan to say, hey, maybe we can get you an even better rate. Maybe we can do a cash out. Maybe. And I love that they stay engaged with their customers because you know how I feel about customer experience because that was my whole, back life. And they have a great culture. They have a great chairman, this guy named Corey Shelley, who's just amazing. I actually met him at a family office event at Silicon Slopes when we
Really?
were. Yeah, I remember that event we did where we brought in a bunch of folks to
Oh,
come
yeah.
and talk to
Oh,
family
yeah.
offices.
Yeah.
And I met him there, and I've helped him over the years with some product things he needed, with some acquisition stuff he needed. And you know me, people call me, I help them, like no charge. And that's turned into a great friendship. But also when he said, I want you to come run my company, I'm like, oh, buddy, it will always be your company. And he's like, we're going to have fun. And we have fun.
But
It's
so
perfect for me.
where's it headquartered? Where do you go to work every day?
Pleasant Grove Boulevard. It's a
How
building.
nice is that?
It's so great. It's so great.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and he's kept even though they do their residential mortgages in most of the western states, their warehousing businesses throughout the United States, they're licensed in every state except for one, I believe. And the people that work there, they love it, and they've been there for a long time. It's a very big company. It's a lot bigger than people understand, and they've quietly gone about helping homeowners get into homes. They're working right now with the governor and with some other folks to make it easier for people to understand how we can solve some of these housing problems. The housing problem we have in Utah, it's not about building more houses. It's
Yeah.
about helping people that are in their first house, that want to be in their second or third house, who don't want to leave because the interest rate's so great.
Yeah.
It's helping them get into houses with bigger garages and more bedrooms and better yards. And then those first homes that are smaller and older, helping people get into those so they can remodel them and make them beautiful and lovely. So
You're still the chair of Governor's
right.
Office of Economic Opportunity,
Right.
GOEO. I'm sure you talk about housing all the time. I'm sure you're addressing a lot of this
We
type
do.
of stuff. How do you think we're doing as a state? You kind of have a front row seat there.
So I don't think we're doing great yet. And I had the opportunity to go to the Republican National Convention. Oh my goodness. Wow. What an amazing and crazy and one and done for me probably. But I got to talk to Speaker Schultz and I got to talk to President Adams. And I said, guys, we got to do a better job with housing. It's not just about building more houses. Like, we have to make it more reasonable for young people to get into homes. For people that haven't been able to get into homes, we have people who've transferred to the state that just struggle to get the down payment. There are a ton of options. And so one of the things that we've been working on, and one of the things that I'm excited to help with the governor's office, but also with not only First Colony, but the builders, is really make homeownership a possibility. I saw a report last week that said 51% of adults believe that they'll never own a home. That's terrible. That's terrible. So if they want to own a home, we should help them understand that you don't have to have 20% down. There are lots of different government-sponsored products that, especially first-time homeowners, that we can help you understand how to really get into these homes. And if we can make it so that our citizens that want to move out of their first home can move into their second home with more bedrooms, they've outgrown their house, then there are a lot of people that would love to move into that. What was your first home?
Yeah. Yeah. I bought my first home, I think it was $140,000.
So
Isn't
my
that
first
crazy?
home, $64,000.
64?
And it was on a third of an acre in North Orem. And I could not sleep at night. How am I ever going to pay off a $64,000 loan at 11% interest? I mean, it was,
Wow.
yeah, I'm older than you.
11%?
Yeah, and I remember I was making $14,000 a year in my job. My husband was working, and it was just like, it just broke my brain. And then my son said, "Oh yeah, and the car you drive is like twice that price." So like, well, I said I'm older now and have a much better job. But I remember like trying to save money and I had to have help, and not everyone can help their kids. Not everyone can help their grandchildren. So we have to make it so that if you want to do it, there's a way. Not everybody wants to do it. I get that.
Yeah.
But young people, we have to help them understand not only how to buy a home, how to negotiate a home, how to manage your finances, because that has been part of the American dream. And a lot of young people tell me it's not going to be a reality for me. And I'm sad about that.
Do you think part of the reason that it's hard to afford a house, obviously rates are high, all that type of stuff, sure. And I think that's true. That's obviously true. And, and we're experiencing inflation and all this type of stuff.
Right.
And we've got an election coming up. There's all sorts of like weird kind of unknowns.
And chop in the Middle East,
Market
right?
just went
Global,
down a ton. Yeah, like we're on the verge of World War III. We might not all be alive by the end of the year because of the nuclear bomb. But assuming that we are all alive at the end of the year, do you think part of this is jobs? Like tech jobs are going away in Utah.
Right.
I don't know what the numbers are, and this is just anecdotal, so you correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like we've had a decrease in tech jobs this year.
Well, we have a lot of companies have been laying off, and I think we're a very vibrant economy in Utah. We boast a very vibrant economy, and we say, "Oh, there's very low unemployment." All that is true, but you may not be able to find the job that you want. Like you can find a job, but it may not be the job that you want. And I think that because housing prices have gone up as rentals, for example, you are trying to save everything you can. You're not making as much money as you could be. You're behind the red line because of inflation. You just can't save it fast enough. And interest rates going up. We think that interest rates will actually come down 0.25% in the fall, but I think that's like a 75% people feel confident about that. I know that when my older son was trying to buy a house, they lived with us to save their money. It was right before COVID, and they had a hard time actually getting an offer accepted. I think they went 12 different houses. And they had decided, well, if we don't get this house, we're just going to live with Carine forever, which I was fine with, but I don't think that's good for them. And I had to like juice the deal a little bit. I had to tell the realtor, look, I'll write a check for the house, knowing that I didn't have to because they already had their financing. They already had their down payment. They already had their financing. And so it differentiated their offer. So they got their offer. They got their house. Their house has doubled in value since COVID, which is crazy to me. And they rent their basement, and it almost covers their house payment. So a master stroke on their part. Lucky, not everyone has, like mother-in-law like me that can go game it a bit, understanding that I didn't have to do that. But it's like it's a fight. And you're right. The companies are shrinking. They're not paying. They're not hiring as fast. People are staying in their jobs even when they're terrible because they don't know if they can get another job. They have a lot of campers in companies. People have quit and stayed in their jobs. And so, I think that's tough all around. So
yeah. It's crazy.
Super sensitive. Like I know some people who've been out of work for like 2 years because they're looking for that job to replace the one they loved and they just can't find it.
Do you think it'll come back, particularly with AI making its
I think tech will be
head?
different.
Yeah, I think so
I think tech will be different. I think that the fastest growing sector in the US is probably going to be energy. And we had lunch, remember, with David Solomon, the chairman of Goldman Sachs. And you remember my question to him was, because I always got a question for the guest, like what policies do we have to get right? And he said the policy with China, the policy for immigration, and the energy policy, and that the energy policy was the most important one. And I think that the transformation of wealth in this country will be fueled by energy, not like it was with tech. I think it's going to be even more. That's just my own,
I think you're right.
What I understand. Because if you think of the United States, less than 5% is renewable right now. We still rely on fossil fuels. We still have our, Berkshire Hathaway, like all these utilities. But other countries, their transformation of wealth has been through energy. I think we're going to see the same thing.
Yeah, I think it kind of has to be too. Even to help tech, it has to be because we need way more power if we're going to do AI right.
Right, because the joke was we were talking with the governor. It's like, okay, we have this data center for AI. Like, we take all the power we have in the state of Utah to power that data center, and we need 9 of them. So the only option is nuclear, really. If the time and money and that people have organ rejection about nuclear energy, but other countries are using it safely, cleanly, without
love nuclear.
Weird movies coming out about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, Chernobyl hurts the cause for sure, but the technology has advanced so incredibly.
Yeah, so it has a brand problem.
Yeah,
nuclear has a brand problem.
Yeah, it definitely has a branding problem, but it seems like the way to go. Do you think Utah will start building nuclear?
Well, that's the debate, right? We talk about, governor was actually in Paris. I was with the governor in Paris for the Olympics. I feel really lucky to have been in Paris for the Olympics because I was the least valued hostage of the group. Like if there was a hostage situation, they're going to shoot me and my husband first because we were there with all the other leadership in the state. And I talked to him. I said, look, I think this is where we're going to have to go. It's complicated. It's complex. But Utah could lead out as, look, we know how to do renewable. We're not going to be dismissive about fossil fuels. We still need fossil fuels. But solar's not going to be able to generate enough power for us. We need nuclear. We need water. We need wind. We need to be really smart about using our resources. And let's not don't even mess with the climate debate. Just say, look, we're going to be the best users of our resources. We're going to show the rest of the nation how to do it. We have plenty of land. We have smart people. I think there's a lot of tech that can be developed for good use of energy.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't you admire? I admire anyone who's in the arena, and Cox just feels like he's getting hit constantly and he still gets up and goes to work.
Yeah, and I don't understand some of it. I was there with the IOC when they voted to give Salt Lake the bid, and we've worked on it for a long time. Fraser Bullock, the CEO, God bless him because they love him.
He's
the
the
IOC
greatest.
loves him. And the governor was there to, accept the bid, and he was gracious, and he posted on Twitter that we won the bid. And people were just brutal to him about, well, it's easy to win when nobody else applied for it. That's not the case. There were 4 other countries that started the process, just that the process is so grueling and so extensive that they didn't qualify. They dropped out. And so we still had to survive the vote, which we did. And so please don't underestimate the amount of work that went in to get that bid, which we're super proud of. But governor just got eviscerated. And I was like, wow, that doesn't even seem fair.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, I just think I admire anyone who gets in that arena, particularly these days.
Yeah.
Because no matter what you do, you're going to, I just found out his opponent in the primary hasn't conceded. I just learned that yesterday.
Really?
Yeah. I can't remember his name, but.
So you know that politics is not my jam.
Yeah, he hasn't conceded. I don't even know what that means, or
Because he won by quite a few, like thousands and thousands of votes.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
It's not a small margin.
Yeah, I don't think it was close. But yeah, I mean, politics is such a weird thing. What's it like being a political appointee? Is that what Goyo chair is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. And I take my own fair share of knocks, but I volunteer and I'm committed to helping the state of Utah make sure that they give incentives to companies that will continue to provide awesome jobs for our young people. People said, "Oh, you gave it to a call center." Yeah, we gave the incentive to a call center in a city that has no new business, and we have students there that need jobs to help them pay for their college. I'll do that all day long. And they took a space that was a blight area and they turned it into a really nice call center. Do I love call centers? They serve their purpose. But we also gave the Micron, the big Micron project, we gave them money. We give money to companies that are already here because they're going to grow. We gave money to Japanese companies that are bringing their manufacturing here. We're always paying attention to water. So we have a good team on the board. We have Jesse Turley as the chair of the incentives committee. He has a hard job. But we're asking a lot of the right questions. We're asking all the right questions about, does this make sense? Does the city want it? A lot of times when we get an incentive, the city is really pushing for the incentive to go through because they want growth in their community. Communities like Ogden, parts of Logan, Tooele, they want business to come in there so that their citizens have opportunities, so that they can buy houses, so they can send their kids to college. It's like, did you play SimCity when you were a kid? Because it's kind of like that, only with really responsible leadership. So I don't know how much longer that I get to be in that role, but I've loved my time there. And I love that I get to work with some really great people and politicians that have a hard job. And I have no interest in public office, but this is a way for me to serve.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thing. And by the way, when you say you give money, you're actually like giving incentives, right? Like, which is like kind of post-performance.
Yeah,
and
they have
like,
to earn it.
It's basically like tax breaks.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like the taxpayers are giving these guys
No, and they have
money.
to hire, they have to be decently high paying jobs to qualify for the incentive. And there's no cash. It's that if you hire 1,000 jobs in a community that's zoned for this, that will really grow that community. By the way, Adobe was one of those companies. By the way, Omniture, all these, Qualtrics has had 2 or 3 Pluralsight that we've given them breaks because they commit to higher jobs over a 10-year period.
And if they don't do it, they don't get that break. And by the way,
and they have to apply
we
for
should all be for less taxes. Like less taxes.
And they have to apply to get, not only apply for the incentive, but they have to prove that they hired the jobs and show that there was economic impact. And then, okay, we'll give it to you.
Yeah. I think that's so fascinating. Let's go back to, what were you doing prior to First Colony?
So I was the chief innovation officer at Lumio. So that's why my passion for energy and my job at Residential Solar was not door to door. My job was to look for other routes to market, to make it easier for homeowners to have access to solar. I had an interest in solar myself because Utah, not a great state financially for solar because of some of the incentives that we don't have. Like, I want to look more like Florida, not California. Our utilities have a chokehold on opportunities for our homeowners. I'm not okay with that. I don't love the door-to-door model. I'd like homeowners to be able to buy solar through their credit union, through their banks, be able to finance it with a HELOC, and finance it at a third of the price of what it is when you buy it off door-to-door. I probably get beat up for that, but I just want to make it easier for people to have options. Because we care about making sure we protect each other and help each other, my idea was if I pay for a solar system on my home and I generate excess power, I want to be able to donate that to the public school system and write it off on my taxes, because 100% of my property tax goes to the school system. If I'm generating more energy off my roof, I want to be able to donate that.
Yeah.
And if we did that, we could not only, there's a lot of things we could do with that. One, we're energy independent. We build these microgrids for communities so that we could take care of each other if there's a power outage. No one could take down our grid because it's like blockchain for power, right? It's all over the country. And
that's a good way to put it, actually.
Yeah, I mean, we decentralize the grid. So I'm trying to decentralize power and make it easy for homeowners to have those options. The real key to that is what Nate Walkinshaw is doing, which is batteries, because you have to be able to store your power. When California had this disruption earlier in the year, people were like, I have solar, I should have power. Why don't I have power? Well, you don't have batteries. You have to store it. So make it easier for people to store their power, use their power, donate their power, put the power back in the hands of the people.
Yeah.
It helps us with energy independence. It helps us with decentralizing the power so that we can protect the grid. It also helps us with managing the rising cost of power. So if there's going to be a 30% increase in the state, ain't nobody want that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's help homeowners who get a federal tax break if they do that. Oh, and if you replace your house at the same time, you get 30%. You can write 30% off of your roof. Why wouldn't we help people have control of their own power?
Yeah.
Power went out in our community, and my neighbors called, is power out at your house? And my husband's like, no, it's not out at our house. I'm like, ding dong, you have solar. Like, your power's not going to go out. He's like, oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Y'all can come over if you want.
What do you think, like, in terms of our community and the tech community here in the state? Like I do think it's kind of been a down year, a rough year. I don't know how you'd, particularly describe it, but it's been a rough year for most tech companies in the country and the world. We have like these 6 tech companies that are really propping up tech right now,
Right.
like in Meta and Tesla and, open all the AI companies, NVIDIA, those types of people. But really, most tech companies aren't doing that well.
Right.
We have this interesting thing here in this state where we have really successful companies and entrepreneurs who've had exits and all this type of stuff. And then you have the up and coming generation. How do you think, how do we support that next generation?
Well, you and I have talked about this a number of times, is that we have these outsized returns, right? Like amazing, extreme returns, like generating multi-generational wealth.
Yeah.
And then we have these startups that they kind of limp along and struggle, and they're always raising money. And then we have this new generation of young people that bought into the startup. Like, I don't want to work for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have my own company. It's like, yeah, buddy, everybody wants that, but not everybody gets that. And I think that maybe we might have sold a bill of goods to a lot of our young people, because I want young people to work in a decent sized tech company first, so they can just kind of grind through the
See what it's
hard
like.
stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I think
It actually sucks.
yeah.
It's kind of the secret.
Yeah. And then you really want to start a company.
Yeah.
But too many people just jump right to starting a company, and it's really hard to raise money. It's hard to work without benefits. It's hard to get your whole family to work for you, but then you don't have a lot of experience there. So I think we got to do a better job of our seasoned entrepreneurs spending time with these startups, helping them not take too much money. Because I've seen a lot of startups, a lot of founders lose their companies. And I just have full on organ rejection about that. I just feel strongly that founders should be able to keep their companies. They raise too much, then they hire someone, or the board puts someone in there, and then all of a sudden they don't have a job. Or we've seen it with a number of high profile companies.
A lot of companies.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's happening? How does that happen? And what do we do about it? Because then you're bringing in and we won't mention any names or funds, of course, because we love all of them. We're Silicon Slopes.
We love them all equally.
But funds they play an interesting role in this community, and I'm seeing it more and more. Companies really, and particularly entrepreneurs, getting taken advantage of.
Yeah, and I think that you take money.
Rare cases. I want to be clear. I'm not.
Yeah, no, I know. I think you take money, and then that's your board, right? You don't get to pick your board because you took the money, so you kind of get what you took. But a lot of times, the early board members don't have any operational experience, but they're trying to help, and it may not be the best advice. I think it's like you said earlier. I think it's hard to be in the arena, to be the guy in the arena, grinding it out every day. And I tell my companies, look, I don't want you to spend a lot of time on the board deck. Let's not do that. And let's not spend so much time rear view. Let's just bring a problem and let's try to solve for it. I think that the world of venture is changing. I think the world of PE is changing. And I think that I like working with family offices, because especially if they have an investment that's adjacent to the investment they want to make in your startup, they're not in your hair, they're not in your underwear drawer, let's say. They're they want you to do well. They have a long view for when they need liquidity.
They're not taking board seats normally.
No, they're not taking board seats. You can actually find someone that will help you, an advisor that you trust, and that maybe you won't lose your company. To me, it's so wrong to pull a founder out, understanding that a lot of these founders don't have any experience. I get that, and that they care about the investment, but I also care about the founder. So we got to do a better job. I think in Silicon Slopes, now we're like a gangly teenager. We started as a toddler and we were doing great things. And people believed us.
Yeah.
And like even crappy companies were doing great because we had this wave.
Oh, yeah.
But now we're a gangly teenager and we want to actually go to the prom. So we're going to have to learn some manners. We're going to have to fix some things, and we're going to have to help each other. And I see folks like Jeremy Andrus, who really is always reaching down and across and over to help, especially consumer entrepreneurs, understand that it is a grind and that he's got a lot of valuable scar tissue that he relies on. And I watch him and how he works in every circle. And I'm so impressed by him, but I also admire, love, and adore him because I think he is a great entrepreneur, and I think he's a great mentor, and I think he's a great human, which those three things together, that's like pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's a guy you want on your cap table.
Yeah.
By the way, I think he's our next governor.
I have been asking him, pushing him, pimping him, promoting him to be governor because I think
we have 4 years to convince him.
I think that he would be awesome.
I do too.
And I think that he's what we need. He's humble, he's hungry, and he's smart about people. He cares about this state. He cares about families. He cares, and he actually puts his money in all those places that he cares about. And I'm a big fan of his, and he knows that I've been already like working on his campaign. I don't know if he wants it or not, but
yeah. We'll have
let's do it together.
We'll certainly have to convince him.
Yeah.
But the state could really use him. It'd be good for everybody but him.
Especially how I feel about politics.
Like I'm not sure
Especially how I feel about politics.
It's that great of a job, but he would be the best I can think of to do it. Something that's not talked about that often is the role that family offices are playing in investing in the state now. It seems like I'm seeing more family office deals than even fund deals.
Well, I think it's a very powerful group of folks that kind of do what they want. They have their own investment thesis. That's why I say if you find someone that has made an investment in an adjacent so that it adds value to the portfolio of things that they care about. I've seen it so many times. I've seen it with Huntsman Mental Health, right? Family offices pop up and say, hey, I'd like to be part of this. I'd like to have my fingerprints on it. But what I love about them is that they're pretty focused on what their long-term plan for their multi-generational issues that they care about. But they don't sit on you, and they don't want a board seat. They want the investment to do well. They're going to stay out of your hair. And I think that the family offices have made some pretty smart investments. We've seen it in some companies that I'm not going to share because it's private, but they've done very well. They like Utah. They like Silicon Slopes. They like the founders here. And I think that I direct a lot of people toward family offices because I think that the way they do their business is actually pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, we've never had more venture capital or access to venture capital in our state's history, right? And so you've got, a lot of incredible funds here. You've got family offices, and you've got Sequoia here all the time, Andreessen Horowitz here all the time, Insight here all the time. Like the top funds in the world are coming here as well. So I don't think access to venture capital is our problem like it maybe used to be. In fact, I think it kind of goes back to what you were saying before. That might be a detriment in some ways because Ryan didn't take money for 10 years.
Right.
I think 9.
Yeah. And then
Amateur, I can't remember, but it was a while. Like all of our really big successes didn't take money for a very long time.
Yeah, and they were thrown off cash so they could keep investing in the company, their own company. And there wasn't a lot that really could help them much until the big boys showed up. The other part that's interesting to me is that there's a lot of PE firms like sniffing around a lot. They want to pick up things at a discounted rate and then take it private, take it public, take it private. Like they got this playbook. And I know that they serve a purpose, but it just creates a very interesting and dynamic ecosystem that I need the CEOs and founders to be really thoughtful of what door they're opening.
Yeah, PE is a fascinating world.
Yeah, and we've got some big firms. I have a board that I was on in Minneapolis. A PE firm came in and picked up the company, and that was great. It was great for the employees. It was great for the founders. It was great for the company. But it's a different door, right? So I always say, look, pay attention to the door that you're choosing because not only are you choosing the goodness, but you're choosing the challenges as well.
Yeah. So you're a cancer survivor.
Yes, and I'm so grateful that I didn't die. And I talk about it because I don't want it to control me. Like the more I can talk about, the less grip it has on me. Like it doesn't paralyze me anymore. And it really is who I am today. Like I'm a better executive, I'm a better human, I'm a better person, I'm a better mom because I did 18 months of chemotherapy, because I thought I was going to die for a long time. And when you think you're going to die, it changes you forever.
Yeah.
So it's a gift to me, and it's something that is it's part of my scar tissue that just made me a better person. I didn't let it define me, I let it refine me.
Yeah, your strength and courage in that has always just blown me away. And when my son got diagnosed with cancer, you were the first person I called.
And I threw myself on that live
You
grenade.
really did. And like it couldn't have.
I think
yeah,
I
you couldn't
even
have
I
been
think
more
I
amazing.
even lectured you for like
Yeah, you
I think I
did.
said you're gonna let me I'm gonna just lecture you for a solid minute. I think you let
Yeah.
me do it for a solid minute.
I was like,
And
I don't know what to do here. And now he's cancer free. And, I can't just, the connections you have in that world, the way you're beloved. You do the bike race
yeah,
every year to raise
June, yeah.
money. And it's just incredible. How do you like stay motivated to do those types of things on top of everything else that you're doing? I don't know that people realize how many people you've helped. You've helped me in my life a number of times, like significantly.
Well, it turns out that when you don't die, people think you have the secrets to the mysteries of the cancer universe, which I do not, but I'm not afraid to go into that dark, fiery swamp over and over and over again. So I get a lot of calls from people and the words out of their mouth when they say, I have cancer, or my son has cancer, or my father has cancer. I mean, I take every one of those calls and I run with that baton until I can't run anymore, because I think that people don't understand we have this world-class cancer facility here in Utah. I'm a big fan of Huntsman Cancer. They saved my life, so I will be hopelessly devoted to them forever. And people don't want to drive up there. They don't want to, it's just the parking's terrible. And like all these things that have nothing to do with the survival rate of the person you love. And I get all that, but if I can get people to just go to that facility one time, if I can get them to walk into the doors of that building,
It's a special place.
then I got them, because it is a special place. John Huntsman Sr. made sure it was a special place. It's more spa than hospital, and they have a culture of care there that's unmatched. And as someone who did 18 months of chemotherapy, the first 6 months was weekly chemotherapy, and I was up there 2 and 3 times a week. They were the difference between me being here and not being here. And I was the only survivor of my cohort, which is, hard to think about. But my sons were 9 and 17. So I had to be so driven to fight this horrible disease. The cancer that I had was ovarian cancer. There are not many survivors of ovarian cancer. 60% of brand new ovarian cancer patients are stage 3. And so it's a smaller cancer, thank goodness. But since there are not many survivors, there's not many people to raise money for that disease. So not a ton of research, not a ton of improvements, not a great quality of life for people that are diagnosed with it. And people, when they call me, they say, I don't know any ovarian cancer survivors. And I'm like, I collect them. There aren't a ton. But that's why I raise money. And as I get older and older, it's going to be harder and harder for me to get my big butt on that bike. But I ride as a hometown hero for Huntsman. I ride with such pride. And I look for other survivors and I talk to them. And this year I raised $150,000. Last year I raised $150,000. And while that may not seem like a lot,
It's a lot.
the total fundraise was like 190. So, and it's truthfully the Silicon Slopes brothers and sisters. They show up every year and they write checks for me, and every dollar goes to women's cancers. Every dollar, and I have a relationship with the CEO of Huntsman Cancer and with the Huntsman family, and they know that until my heart stops beating, I will do everything I can to help them build that new facility in Vineyard, to help them have more awareness for getting people to Huntsman Cancer. I don't think for them it's the business of the money, it's the business of saving lives.
Yeah.
And I've never had any indication that it was otherwise. And the Huntsman family, Peter Huntsman, David Huntsman, Christina, I mean, John Jr., like they are so committed to their father's dream and vision for that. And a lot of people don't know that his widow had the same cancer I had just a few years ago.
Really?
And she said to me, I walked through those doors for the first time as a patient. And I'm pretty sure John built that for me. And that was so lovely and so touching. And Carine Huntsman, she is a lovely, lovely person. But she survived it and she's doing great and makes me feel good that we have some more survivors. And
Huntsmans are a fantastic family, and they've recently launched that mental health initiative in the Mental Health Institute.
yeah, also very important
And
for their
I was
cause.
at one of those events, and I spoke at it, and I can't remember exactly which Huntsman spoke, but they said that their dad, when he was dying, said, "Find the cancer of your time," and they landed on mental health.
Yeah, and they had a sibling that died from mental health issue as a young person. And it might have been David. I know Christina is very involved in it. And
I think it was Christina.
They're trying to
spoke, yeah.
solve some really, really hard problems. And it's never a straight line, right? Whatever criticism you have about what the Huntsmans are trying to do, I see goodness coming from that. And I think it's really hard to build something like Huntsman Cancer, like Huntsman Mental Health. And they back it with their money and they work with other parts of the community to help make it better. And I just need better.
Yeah. How much longer are you going to be in the arena? You could stop at any point. You could have stopped years
I
ago.
know. That's what my boys said. My boys were like, when I told my family I was taking this job, they're like, have you lost your mind? Like, Mom, be done. And I'm like, the problem with me is that since I already know I'm going to die, I want to build things that are special, that work beautifully without me. But I don't know that I can stop because I have like my metabolism and my energy is, I like to build things. I like to build teams. I like to build people. I want things to be better. And so instead of just complaining about it, I'm in there trying to make it better. And that's why I love Silicon Slopes. I love, you and I you've been on it from the beginning, but like I remember some of the first times when you were actually working at a different company and we were trying to build Slopes Foundation and the summit. And I remember the very first summit, you're like, we're going to have this many people. I'm like, there's no way. And I looked out the curtain and I'm like, what have you done? We're going to need a bigger boat. So I love that my history is here. I love that my friends are here, that I can see my fingerprints a little bit on some of this stuff. And I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. So I don't know that I can ever retire. Actually, Gail Miller asked me that. She's like, why aren't you just retired? And I'm like, you don't retire. Why would I retire?
Well, we're a better community because of you. I love you, my friend. Seriously, you've made a huge impact on my life. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Well, I love and adore you. So thank you for always asking me to spend time with you. I'll always show up for you.
Oh, you're awesome.